G'day, welcome to Market Sam After Work. Today I want to do a sort of a little bit of a review or an overview of our new 22 long rifle that we have here. And what it is, and I showed people on the channel before when I was talking about whether you need to bed an action to a chassis, and went through all the details there, but showed this, which is a barreled action B14 Bergara B14 barreled action in the 22 long rifle. We've got it sitting in this MDT ACC chassis. It's a chassis I've modified a little bit, put my bipod system on the front of it. We've got this element scope sitting on it now. I've got one of my heavy bag riders on the back of it. Not needed for this rifle, but where this chassis was last used was with the 7mm 08 out at 3,000 yards. So I had the heavy bag rider on the back here. And other than that, the only other work I've done to this, the scope is sitting in a air attack base, which lets me set everything up to a 1:2 adjustable inclination base, so I can set it up to get the full elevation out of this scope. The only other thing I've done to it is I did a little bit of work with the trigger. The trigger, you can back off the trigger pressure a little bit, but you can also work on the sear engagement by tapping out the trigger and putting a little bolt in there to push it forward on the sear, so you end up with a nice little engagement. I got it down to just under, or just on around 1.5 pounds, 1.7 pounds, so nice sort of weight for the 22 long rifle, but shoots really well, nice and crisp and otherwise very good. The only other detail that you've got sitting in here is I've got a 50 MOA scope rail here, and that's actually from ULR. The Bergara action actually has the Remington 700 footprint on it, and the scope rings on it as well. So very much like a custom action, but it's actually from a manufacturer, being Bergara. And besides that, we've got in this 16-inch barrel. It was threaded on the front, and I've got this silly looking little muzzle brake on the front of it. I shouldn't say silly looking. I put it on there because the other rifle we're comparing with, which was the CZ, had its own little muzzle brake. And because of the length of this chassis suiting a 26, 27, 28, 30-inch barrel, the chassis, I've still shortened it, but it still sort of suits that. It looked really silly with almost no barrel poking out the front of it. So that's what the muzzle brake's really doing, is it's on the front there so you can see the barrel, and it doesn't look quite so silly. Still, it's a 22 with a muzzle brake, and yes, it doesn't do anything in the way of recoil retardation. Maybe it does a little bit in stripping some air away as the bullet goes out there. I don't know. It's really as much aesthetics as anything. And like I said, comparing, which is a little bit what we were doing. We're actually shooting on the same day. We had two very similar rifles, and I suppose I'll go what we've done with it so far. Got the barreled action, made sure it make it up. It did. I'm actually running it like I actually found it, so it fitted in the chassis nicely. In other words, everything bolted in, did a bit of work with the trigger, got myself another couple of magazines, so I ended up with the 3 magazines for the thing. For those people who don't realise, it's a full-size magazine, but it's actually just 22 long rifle. Fits in there, very easy, nice and easy to put in and out. Functioned all nicely. One of them did have a little bit of occasional feeding issue, so I don't know if it's one of the magazines or just that I've got to do a little bit of work on the setup, but largely faultless on that sort of score. The action, faultless, worked really nicely. Everything else was, listen, it's a nice action. It's really solid. It certainly feels like a bigger thing than the likes of the CZ with the normal sort of 22 long rifle action. But well, I suppose how'd the day go? We went out, we were shooting, it's sort of the middle of winter, grass is growing, that sort of thing. It was very cold, so we've got a nice sharp mirage we're dealing with. We got ourselves off the ground to be able to deal with it, so we shot them both on tripods. These chassis have the Arca rails, so they're set up in tripods. And then we were shooting out. We did basically 50 yards on a little FTC target. We're both very practiced at that. We run, whether it's 10 or it's 30 magazines a week we would run through, so from 100 to 300 rounds as we would run over our little FTC target. So that's a 2-inch gong down to a 1/4-inch gong. There's 10 of them. 50 yards is what we're normally shooting at, made for the 22 long rifle.
Rightio.
So we went through and had that little shoot at 50 yards. And after a little bit of practice, once we got the scope zeroed in, then managed, both pulled off, I think there was 10 one time. Quite commonly end up missing one of the 9 or the 10 on the little gongs, whether it's the 3/16 and then or the quarter, but you'll end up missing one of those because it doesn't take much. But in both cases, both of the CZ, which is a CZ 455 set up in a chassis to suit a 455, so while it looks very similar, it's quite a different format. And that other one was running the tracked scope. This is running the Element in the Theos scope. That was running the track scope. So very similar sort of setup. It's very similar, nice quality glass, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of scope on little rifle in both cases. But dialed in, both went through and got our 10 on there, so got them all sorted out and working nicely. The next thing we stepped up to went out to, I think it was 260 yards, a 6-inch gong out there, and just see what sort of consistence we could get. Okay, so that's back to 9mm and 3mm of wind.
Okay.
Let's see what we got.
Yep. I got him. Yeah,
Okay.
got him right.
That's nice.
Awesome.
Let's see what we do. Next one.
Oh, top left corner, just off.
Okay, a little bit high. Okay.
Hit. Beautiful. Top right.
Okay, target right.
Yep. 2 o'clock.
Ooh.
Another one. On hang on, it tinked on something. I think it might have been the frame.
I held left edge
Okay.
deliberately. It looked like it wriggled that way.
Got him. Beautiful. 9 o'clock. The other hit is just on the side of the plate at like 7 o'clock. Just on the side of the plate. Another one.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's
on.
10 o'clock. Edge of plate. Awesome.
Okay, cool. Okay, might be your turn to get on. See what you can do.
Okay. All right. Get my mag out.
So I'd say.
Okay.
No, more than that.
This one's all good still.
Sorry.
The camera's all still good.
Yep.
Right here.
Okay, let's get you on.
Here we go. Okay, so it was right.
Good height, just right. So go another 3 minutes of wind.
So we go left.
Keep going. So it says 4. Take it to 7. Cool.
Oh.
Bounced on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you need a little bit more elevation. Go up 2 minutes.
Oh.
I didn't see.
No, neither did I.
Got him.
Yay! Awesome.
I think it's over on the right hand side.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah, okay, right hand side, 3 o'clock.
Till.
So it looks like hold left edge,
Okay.
center of plate. Yep.
Oh, got him. Beautiful. All right, that might do, eh? We pepper the plate.
Okay, you're on. Yeah,
Okay.
the wind was a little bit gusty. The mirage, like I said, was around the place, but in both cases, this one a tiny bit better. I was shooting this one, Sam was shooting the other one, but we both shoot at a very similar level at this sort of stuff, so I wouldn't put anything there. Sam was shooting on a type of tripod that is, you need a little bit more control to use that. It's a little bit easier to set up for the shorter side of things for Sam. Was a taller one, but the style of tripod means that it was a little bit nicer a little less work I had to do. So that's not the best comparison, but in the way the day changed, which we were planning on doing quite a bit more, but the mirage really stepped in, and then the wind stepped in, and then the sheep stepped in. So we got shut down pretty early. But still, what we saw out of this thing, and to talk about this rifle, once I was on that 6-inch plate at 260 yards, it really moved into couldn't miss. Really moved into hitting consistently. So that's a really good little group. For 260 yards, standard velocity, CCI ammunition. So that's all we're using, and that shot out there super consistently. Super happy with that sort of stuff, worked really nicely. Dialed in like we expected. Got Sam on as well. She followed up. She did very well as well. Took a little bit more to get on there. Like I said, that tripod's a little bit less consistent. You've got to control a little more. But once she was on there, then she was hitting consistently as well. We were going to step out further, run the Velociter ammunition and step out to our target at 640 yards. We had a couple of shots up there, but we're struggling to see things. The moment we saw it and got close to target, we had sheep stroll around the other side of the hill, which there's some sheep on that particular bit of the property, but they were to the other side. By the time we got there, they'd come across. So we tried to reset and move things around, but we'd lost our weather. So we didn't get to go there. Ultimately, that's where we plan. We plan to step out further and shoot these things, both going to be sort of mini ELR rifles. So whether that's 400 yards, that's 500 yards, or 600 yards, or 800 yards. We've obviously been out to 1,000 previously with that other one. But in the way of consistent sort of stuff, you know, anything from 200 to 600 is ELR for this sort of stuff. And that's what we're planning on doing with this. But I suppose the overall thoughts of this rifle, or this barreled action, I should say, the Bergara, I really like it. It definitely has a decent feel about it in the fact that it's a shorter stroke, but it does feel like a centerfire rifle. Nice and solid and strong, decent sort of heavy barrel, and the consistency I saw of it was really good. We'll do some more testing and see if there's anything in the speeds of the ammunition. There is obviously the normal thing people would do and go and find the ammunition that works the absolute best. I tend to go with, there is that side of it, which is really about sort of tuning your barrel with factory ammunitions, or tuning to your ammo, your barrel with factory ammunition. I tend to do the opposite. I try and make things work with the ammunition I've got. And this thing looks like I've got nothing to do. It's working really well. So I like the concept. It lets you do that thing of where you have a chassis like this, a good chassis, which whether you're running PRS or ELR or whatever it is, and you don't want to run your centerfire and run your expensive ammunition all the time and wear out your expensive rifle, you can whack in something like this, and then plink away at a low cost with almost no wear, well, pretty much no wear when it comes to the 22 long rifle, and lots of practice, lots of fun, and a really good thing to do. I like it. I think it's a really good concept. I like the way of doing this, and to me this makes a bit more sense than anything really. Spend decent money on your chassis, you can set your whole setup there, and you can actually have a barreled action you can swap over in the middle there and use all your same rig. So keep your muscle memory, keep your format and everything largely working to the same place, with just a different bit in the middle. Anyway guys, that's my take on this one. We'll do some more with it and I'll let you know some more. Like I said, may have to do a little bit of tweaking of something with the magazines. Maybe that's just all settling in. It's just occasionally, and maybe it was a little short stroke, I don't know, but occasionally they wouldn't want to go in. And you could wriggle it go in, or they didn't want to go in, but once I pulled it out, put the ammunition back in here and put them in, then they seem to work fine. So I think maybe there's a bit of fine tuning, not sure yet. That's something I'll have to play with in the future. But other than that, pretty close to faultless. I really liked it. Anyway guys, thank you very much for checking in. We'll catch you next time.